welcome back. Today I want to go back and discuss the single most important lesson I learned when it comes to fly fishing. I grew up in Pennsylvania with some of the limestone streams, pretty much in my backyard. The Jay, Penns, Spring Creek, Spruce was right there, Sproul, all of that stuff. I mean, there were some phenomenal stretches of water where I was fishing. And like most everybody who starts this, I struggled for the first couple of years really figuring out what I was doing. I was starting to learn some bugs. I was tying some flies that would catch fish. I mean, they weren't great by any means. But I was tying some flies that would catch fish. And back then, a lot of folks were pretty secretive about, where they were fishing, what they were using. You'd see somebody have some success. You go up to them, what are you using? And be like, nymphs, dries, And it just kind of turned me off at first from the whole thing. Because, I was a kid. I wasn't even driving. And, I'm just trying to learn, but you got these grown men, just thinking that some 11, 12-year-old kid's going to come up and outfish them because he tells them what he's using, And it really kind of deterred me a little bit, but, I kept with it. And a lot of folks, back when I first started, it was dry flies or nothing. It was dry flies or nothing. A lot of folks weren't really doing nymphs. They would see me nymphing and still kind of turn their nose up at it, Like I said, I started to learn the bugs a little bit. I started really kind of piecing some things together to where I was catching some fish with some consistency when I went out on the river, but by no means was I good. By no means. I still to this day, I wouldn't say that I am. I can catch fish, but I'm not to the level that some folks are, and I probably never will be. I'll never claim to be. I try and stay humble as much as possible, stay centered and grounded, and that way it doesn't allow me to get to where some of the folks were in the first experiences that I had growing up fishing. It takes me back to the J, Spruce Creek Outfitters, one of my go-to fly shops. Every single time I would go there, I learned so much from Alan, the owner of the shop, that it's irreplaceable. The guy is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, there is nothing that goes on in that river that he doesn't know about. He can tell you about down to the damn mile marker where the sulfurs are hatching, and it's just unbelievable to pick his brain, and I was able to have access to that. And he was nice enough to share that with me as a young kid. And, that's just something that I'll never forget, and it's something that it's always a measuring stick for me when I go into certain shops. And there are a lot of shops out there. I'll call the shop out, the Davidson down there I can't remember the name of the shop, but it was on the Davidson in North Carolina. I went in there and was talking about flies, and the guy looked at me. I don't know if he was the owner, probably not. I would hope not. But he looked at me like I had never, fished a day in my life, and was just looking down his nose at me. And it really I remember back to the days talking with Al, and that was my measuring stick. And from that point right there, I was like, I'd never spend a dime in that shop. That was one of the few shops that I've walked into in my life, and I didn't spend a dime. I walked out. If I probably saw that guy in a different environment, I may have punched him in the face. I don't know. Who knows? It's hard to tell. I mean, I was that pissed off at that guy, and I'm thinking, man, what if I was somebody that didn't know a damn thing and I was just starting? It may have turned me off from fly fishing. I could have been a lifetime of enjoyment that guy just robbed because he thinks he's better, you know? So I always tried to keep that about me. I always tried to keep that mindset to where I don't know everything. I never will. And I'm not going to try and pretend that I do. So I always try and keep that mindset. And I remember the first time I went into the slide-in to Kelly's shop. And, you know, you don't know what to expect. Admittedly, Kelly is like, you know, an idol that a ton of folks look up to. I'm the same way, you know. I look up to Kelly a ton. And you didn't really know what to expect. I never met him before, never met Johnny or any of the boys. And I walked into the shop, and it was the most probably impressive thing that I've ever seen. Kelly wasn't there. He was back in Michigan. And, you know, Johnny, and I think it was... I don't know if Jeremy was around yet or not, but Parker, and there was a couple of the boys in there, and man, it was like I'd known him my whole life. You know, it was like being back at Alan's shop, and I walked out of there so impressed. Like it was the absolute one of the best experiences that I've ever had walking into a fly shop. And I even wrote Kelly after, and I told him exactly that, and he wrote me back. You know, and the interaction that you get from those guys, it goes a very long way. And it's just any shop that you go into, you know. Some of them are so pretentious and think that they know everything, and it's an absolute turn off, and it turns people away from the sport. If you own a shop and you're like, yeah, quit doing it. Seriously, I mean, you don't know everything. You never will. I'll never forget the day that I went into Alan's shop, and like I said, I don't even know if I was driving at this point. And I go into the shop, and I was talking to Al, and Al is one of these guys, if any of you guys have ever met him, he is very direct, very to the point. He will tell you exactly what's on his mind, and he doesn't hold much back. But you ask him for advice, and you're cordial, he'll do anything for you. Shoot, he'll tie a fly for you right there on the spot. I was sitting there looking at some materials. It was, you know, midday, and I was waiting for some sulfur action to happen. And I was sitting there talking with Alex, just him and I in the shop. And I asked him, you know, we were just bullshitting a little bit. And these other folks came in, older gentlemen, all decked out in their Orvis gear. They had their waders on, which is a disrespectful thing, you know, to go into some shops with waders on. I mean, take your damn waders off. Just wear your boots in there, whatever. But it's going to vary from shop to shop. Some of them are fine with it, others aren't. You know, be respectful. But these guys came in, and this will stick with me to the day I die. I asked Al if there were any sulfurs coming off, and this one jackass, I don't know if he's a lawyer up in State College or whatever. I don't know what his profession was, but he interrupted us, and he spouted off the Latin name for the sulfurs, and he said, "Oh, don't you mean the whatever?" I'm not going to try and pronounce it. I could recognize it if I see it on a piece of paper, but I can't pronounce it. I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced. And I remember just being like, did this really just happen, you know? And I didn't really want to say anything. And Alan, he looks at him and he says, if you're going to be a dick and try and talk down to somebody, fucking pronounce it right. And he's pronounced it, and he says, on second, he goes, furthermore, he goes, just get the hell out of my shop. He goes, you don't need to be talking down to this kid. He's just trying to learn. He goes, you don't even know what the hell you're talking about. That's not going to make you catch more fish. Get out of my shop. And I, you know, to this day, Alan's like, he's a Kelly Gallup to me. You know, somebody that I idolize in the sport, somebody that I always look up to, and I will always have a good thing to say about them because of the way they treat people. And that leads me back to what I first started with on this video. The single most important lesson that I learned in fly fishing, and it's very simple. Just don't be a dick. Nobody knows everything. being able to spout off Latin names is not going to make you catch more fish. It may make you, whatever, feel more important around your drinking buddies or whatever. It doesn't mean shit. Get out there and have fun. Get out there and have fun. And if people come up to you, younger kids, new fishermen, whatever it may be, take some time. Show them what's going on. Show them the ropes. It's amazing how much of a difference it can make in somebody's outlook on a sport that we all enjoy. Take the time and have some fun with them, you know. Who knows, you may even learn something along the way. Go through anything in life, really. You feel comfortable in doing it, and you get into a set routine. Somebody may ask you a question about something that you never really thought of before, and then next thing you know, it gets your mind thinking and you pick up something new. Who knows? Take the time, but if you turn that person away right off the bat, you'll never know it, you know. That could be something that you miss later on down the road. So, enough of my rant. I'm done with that one, but like I said, long story short, just don't be a dick. Get out and have some fun and enjoy it. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you next week.